TONEX 1.8 is on its way, and I've got a sneak peek here, and it appears that they've added some more effects inside of TONEX. Is this something we should be excited about? And if so, why? Hey there, I'm Dan, the self-proclaimed Lonely Rocker. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today's sort of a continuation of Tales from the Cart. Yes, the TONEX cart. Did you see my TONEX cart? I revealed this in my last video. I have a whole cart devoted to TONEX. I'll share information about this a bit later. But while I was doing this, IK Multimedia sent over an early look of the new release of TONEX. That's 1.8. And I have to say, I'm amazed, completely blown away by what they've added to the new version of TONEX. It's unbelievable. Hold on a second. Hold on. I'm going to be real for a second here. It's 2024. We have all sorts of digital amp products out there with touch screens and crazy signal chains and things like that. And the latest release of TONEX offers 2 effects blocks. 2. Should we be excited about that? Now, I'm being a little silly right now. I've been following TONEX since day one, but I do have thoughts about this because if you're coming in cold on TONEX, it might not seem like such a big thing. But if you've been following along, I think that's where the real story is. And I'm going to get into that because the real question is, where is TONEX going? So let's start off. I want to share some of the features of 1.8 so you can see what it's all about. Launching TONEX 1.8 for the first time, you'll notice the updated effects section across the top with the new modulation and delay modules. Overall functionality of the section has been updated, allowing you to position each module at different points in the chain. Each module can be turned on with the toggle switch right from the channel strip or within each module using the power button. The modulation module gives you chorus, tremolo, phaser, flanger, and rotary effects, each with their own unique settings. You can only load one effect from this section at a time. Let's listen to what they sound like. These effects are in stereo when placed after the amp. If you move it before the amp, the effect is summed to mono. The sync button when engaged corresponds to the BPMs that we've set the plugin to. This is also a new feature. More on that shortly. Turning off sync sets the time settings to milliseconds. The delay module features 2 flavors of delay, digital and tape, and each delay type has a normal and ping pong mode. As with modulation, this is in stereo when placed after the amp, or summed to mono when placing it before. And the sync button works the same as the modulation effects. In the reverb section, you have the option to place the reverb post-amp or last. Depending where you've placed the other effects, you can feed the reverb into your effects or have it last in the chain. And there's also a new reverb. A 4th spring reverb has been added to the collection of available reverbs. And speaking of the BPM feature, you can set this globally for the plugin or make it preset specific simply by changing the tempo source in the preferences. Global Host syncs everything to the app setting or to match the setting in your DAW if you're using the plugin. Setting it to preset allows you to customize each preset individually. Those effects sound really, really good. They really do. But the question is, can you take these new presets with these built-in effects and put them on the pedals, the TONEX pedal and the TONEX One? Well, the answer is yes. All of the new TONEX features are available on both the TONEX pedal and TONEX One, which is quite amazing. On the TONEX pedal, you can edit the parameters of these new features by pressing on the parameters button and scrolling to mod and delay. As you can see, you can access all of the parameters of each effect. Very cool. I created a preset utilizing all of the available effects in TONEX and then saved that preset on the TONEX pedal and TONEX One to demonstrate that it sounds exactly the same. All right, here comes the opinion part of the video. Are you ready for it? All right, here are my thoughts on all of this. Now, the simple concept of adding a couple of effects blocks to a digital amp platform on its own might not seem exciting, but I asked the question is, where is TONEX going? And to answer that question, well, I can't completely answer that question, but to contemplate that question, we have to look at where TONEX came from. Now, I've been using TONEX since day one, and I've been following along. I've made numerous videos about TONEX and related products, things like the pedal and TONEX One. And I remember when TONEX first came out, I was a little bit confused because I started using it and I saw there was, these amp models in there was pedals in there. And I was trying to figure out, well, how do I put a pedal before the amp? And I couldn't figure it out until I realized that that's not what TONEX was all about. And as someone who's doing reviews about it, I felt I had to explain why this was because, when people are buying digital amp products these days, most of them are what they'll call multi-effects, right? They come bundled with all sorts of amps and cabinets and effects, and you can move things around. So TONEX was a little confusing at first. It started off as a desktop platform, a plugin. And once I realized, oh, this is like a tone engine, right? These are amplifiers. It's not about, building signal chains, but they were bundling Amplitube with it. And if you know Amplitube as a desktop application, that's a very powerful signal chain builder. And pretty soon after the release, suddenly you will be able to import TONEX tone models into Amplitube. Now, this is all happening on the desktop. This predated the pedal. Well, a year later, this thing showed up. And suddenly we can take all the presets that we made in TONEX and we can put them on the pedal. And keep in mind, TONEX did have some reverb, some compression, but it was understood at that point that this was a digital amplifier. Now, some of the biggest complaints that I heard, because I had an early look at the pedal before it came out, and when I put out the video, a lot of people were complaining about the fact that it didn't have a send return. Oh, you can't insert things in between. Again, people are always going to find things to complain about. Now, I'm saying all this because we're going to lead up to today's TONEX release where they added a couple simple blocks, really good sounding effects, but just a couple of blocks. Anyways, as the story continues, TONEX came out with the TONEX One. Now, suddenly for something that's under $200 with full featured presets, it's not like it was watered down. I mean, you can't hold as many presets as you do on the big pedal, but you can build your amps, your cabinets, however you like it, cab IRs, whatever it is that you want. You can store multiples of them on here. You can switch between two at a time. You can add it to your rig. So you can have an amplifier on one, a cabinet on the other. You can mix and match. Remember, we didn't have a send return loop, but suddenly we have two physical blocks of TONEX that we can mix and match on our pedal boards, which I think offers some great customization. So fast forward now, TONEX 1.8, and we have now just added delay and modulation effects. But let's consider for a second another product like the Kemper player pedal that recently came out. Now, number one, it's a lot more expensive. Now, it is an all-in-one, it's an amp with effects and things like that, and I get that, but it's quite a bit more expensive. And they've also offered different tiers. So you buy the pedal, but you have to pay a certain premium to unlock certain features within the pedal. So you can buy that pedal, not upgrade to those additional packages. that functionality is locked inside that pedal and you can't access it. You have to pay for it to, again, unlock more features. And it's pretty expensive. When you add the upgrades plus the pedal itself, you're like over 3 times the price of the TONEX pedal. And when you buy the TONEX pedal, you get TONEX Max, you get all the goodies that come with it, including Amplitude. And Amplitude is something that we shouldn't ignore because a lot of people don't associate the two, but TONEX is under the Amplitude umbrella. And if you've used Amplitude, that's a very complex effects and signal chain builder. It's an amazing piece of software. So I've often wondered, which way is TONEX going to go? Well, they're teasing us a little bit, right? By adding a couple more effects blocks. So really with modulation, delay, we've had reverb, we've already had compression. You can build nice signal chains. You could take this pedal out on a gig. Hell, you could take the TONEX One and have your full preset. It's going to sound great. But back to the question, where's TONEX going? So I think at its core, the idea that they've just added a couple of effects on its own, it's like, I don't think it's a reason for a parade, but it's giving us a little taste about where IK Multimedia is taking TONEX. Because one thing that I said very early on is IK Multimedia wants you on TONEX, and they're very much behind the platform. You know, we see a lot of digital products come and go, but you can tell when a company is really behind it, and they are very aggressive with their updates. There's constant update cycles, and they're constantly adding new features. So yeah, the idea if you just walked in off the street today and you heard that TONEX just added 2 effects blocks, it's not really going to make you excited. But what should make you excited is if you bought into TONEX on day one, they have not asked you for another nickel, not a penny. They keep adding features, and it keeps getting better and better. And now they've shown us what they can do. I mean, this pedal far predates that update, right? And they've actually made it work so you can take those presets now with your delays and your reverbs. You can put them on your pedal. You can even get in here and adjust it from the pedal. So obviously they had a vision that that's something they were planning on doing. And I think that's what's so exciting about this is that it's not costing us an additional penny. They keep giving us more features, and they're teasing us a little bit about what their capabilities are. And if you follow IK Multimedia, if you have any of their other products, which I have a ton here, I mean, the whole T-Rack system, I mean, IK Multimedia knows effects. And if you look at Amplitude, simply as a signal chain builder, it's a very sophisticated platform. IK Multimedia has all of that capability. And they've just given us a little bit more on the TONEX pedal. And I personally think they're evaluating. I'm certainly have a roadmap. They might have a couple of roadmaps to see which way this is going to go, but it's really kind of testing the waters to see how the players respond. And it's a lot of fun sort of being part of the story because we get to play with it and watch it get better and better. And in the short term, if you're building out your live rig, well, you've got a great little pedal that's, I think, on par with some of the best modelers out there. Listen, I've got Helix here, I've got Fractal, I've got Quad Cortex, and I've got TONEX, and you put them in a mix, I can't tell the difference between any of those platforms. So you've got some of the best digital amplifiers available right here. And the other thing that I like is, of course, IK Multimedia is a business and they need to make money. Their upsells are not mandatory. All of the signature packs and things like that, these are optional. They're not adding features to the pedal. They're just introducing different amplifiers. If you don't buy any of the signature packs, you're still getting all of the updates with the main TONEX platform. But it's a way for IK Multimedia to add value add and upsells without really getting in the way of the platform itself. And I use Kemper as an example. They've now created different tiers of their platform, and you have to buy in if you want to have all of those features. And where's that going to go? I mean, I think this is laying the groundwork for future paid upgrades and things like that. So I'm a big believer that if you're creating value and you're offering something new, it's well within your right to charge for it. But in the case of TONEX, where not one user has been charged a penny for any of these updates, and they're just giving us a little taste of more and more and showing us what they're capable of. So personally, that's what makes me really excited about this. Yeah, adding 2 effects blocks on its own might not seem like a big thing, but you could tell that they're experimenting. They're adding more and more to TONEX to see which way this is going to go. I mean, in the end, one day, I mean, are we going to see a super pedal with all that functionality? Well, I know IK Multimedia has the capability. I'm not privy to their roadmap. I don't know what they're doing, but I know what they're capable of doing. So that's really what excites me, and really we'll continue to be excited to see which way they take TONEX. It's a really fun platform. And anyways, I hope you found something interesting here. If you want to add to this discussion, we'd love to hear from you. That's what the comments section is for. And if you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. And while you're down there, well, I told you about my TONEX cart here. The whole video about that, I'll pop that right here if you want to check it out. And remember, you don't need a band to rock and roll. I'll catch you in the next one.